Would you pay $144,000 for that house? I did, and I'll tell you the whole story. Welcome to Hanging Out with Popsy Guy, where today I wanted to talk to you about what the heck is happening in the housing market. I feel bad for the younger generation, now that we're the old generation, right? You and I. um, but I'm going to share with you, things are not that much different. So that house you saw in the thumbnail, my wife and I purchased in 1988 for $144,000. And I can tell you right now, I couldn't afford to repurchase that house. Zillow has the Zestimate at over $630,000. The house itself, having lived in it for 15 years, I put a lot of money into that house. House was built in 72, so what's that make it? 50 some odd years old right now. But when we had it, I put a new roof, new siding, new windows. For those of you in non-Florida states, a new septic system. That's where you flush the toilet and it goes into a tank, not into the city sewer. But I digress. That's a lot of money to spend as a young couple. But we did it. So it got me thinking, how come kids today, and I talk about kids, I'm talking about the millennials or other generations that feel like they're locked out of the housing market, how come they can't do what my wife and I did back in 1988? Buy a nice 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath house in a quiet neighborhood, bath and a half, and then say, hey, it's a great place to raise a family. It's got a 1/2 acre lot. It's in a nice quiet neighborhood. And we did it. Now, today, you can't open up a news story or a YouTuber who's talking about the fact that these kids today, and I use that in a complimentary way, are frozen out of the housing market. So it got me thinking. You're my age, you're probably not thinking as deep as I am about this because you're retired. You don't have to worry about it. You're like, hey, I paid my dues, I did my time, let these kids figure it out. I know that sounds kind of callous and so forth, but didn't our parents think the same thing about us? Leave them alone, Margaret, they'll figure it out. And we did. But now here we are. As I said in a previous video, not many years ago, I was at my best friend's mom's wake. And, we're all hanging out, all us old high school buddies. And I elbowed my friend and I said, listen, we're on deck. Because we truly are this generation. We're the boomer generation, the last of the boomers. And we're the old people that don't know anything, that they don't want our advice, but so we don't give it. Or if we do give it, it's not heeded. So here's to you, boomer, who doesn't have to worry about buying a new house, doesn't have to worry about it. So here's some statistics that I ran, which I thought were fascinating, because I am a macroeconomist at heart. I don't make a living doing it. I didn't like it in school. Matter of fact, in college, I flunked Econ 101, not once, but twice. Now here I am, loving economics. So what I did is I just took a look at what the history books tell us about inflation, about 30-year interest rates, mortgages, about average household income, about all that data that I didn't give a rat's rear end about 37 years ago. I just did it. So the question is, why can't the kids today just do it? Well, it's just not that easy. So let me give you some real numbers. I and what I did is I took a look at the years 1988 through a random sample of 2003, 15 years. And it's not so random because that's the year we sold that house that you saw in the thumbnail and moved out of state. So over that time period of 15 years, the average 30-year interest rate, are you ready for this, was 8%. You know what the average 30-year rate is today in 2025? 6.78. So it's not that different. The average value of a home in that time period, let me get my, it's 196, it went from 152,000 in 1998 to 196,000 2003. Again, that random 15-year period I used because that's the time we moved. That's a 28% increase in home values over that 15-year period. That's pretty good, right? But I could tell you just from experience, we didn't buy our homes thinking this is an investment that we're going to cash in on at some point. We bought our homes because we wanted a nice place to raise our family, a safe neighborhood, and good schools. And if the thing went up by inflation or a little bit more, all the better. We can sell it after we retire, we can cash in and move to Florida. Joke's on us, we moved to Florida too soon and got caught up in the price increases. So that's all well and good, but what I really want to talk to you about is the fact that wages over that time period have not kept pace. That's the problem these kids have today. Yeah, it is also the value of the homes they're whacked. Side note, side story, when we moved from that home that you saw in the thumbnail from 2003 down to Florida, the home that we lived in for the next, I think, 11 years is now not on the market, but I Zillowed it because that's what we do. We want to see how much these homes are worth. It's $850,000. $850,000. We paid $375,000. So it's crazy, right? So we get back to the income. You know what the median household income in 2025 is in the United States? I got this from the Census Bureau. $80,000 household income. So if that's the case, let me look real quick because I've got another number for you that I think you'll find fascinating because you're not paying attention to this stuff because you've already been there, done that. That's equivalent to $45,000 in 1988 wages, which is about I could tell you what I was doing back then. Our household income was about $42,000. So these numbers are very reflective of what the reality on the ground was, even back then, 37 years ago. The problem is that increase in wages has not kept up with the increase in the prices of homes, or as my last video talked about, in the increase in price in vehicles. Those two things are locking out so many people because wages have not kept up. Now, I'm not going to get into a diatribe about how wages need to keep up and the little man is getting screwed because we're putting in more hours. We all know that's true. That is the system that we choose to live in the United States. Problem is that the inflation rate that we're experiencing now is not unusual. Here's the problem. Do you remember ZIRP? And if you're not familiar with that term, it's zero interest rate policy. That happened from 2008 to 2015 when the federal government decided money was free. Well, we're just coming off the Great Recession where not only was money free, homes were buy one, get one free, which we can have a whole separate discussion about what caused the 2008 recession. But I'm here to tell you it's the greediness of the banks, of the investment banks, the investment companies who were selling nothing but money. They weren't even selling it. They were giving it away in hopes that you'd turn around and give it right back to them. So here's where I just kind of want to share with you. Until wages increase and prices come down on homes and cars, we're going to see a very difficult market for young people who are not keeping up with the cost of living. And on the flip side, not even on the flip side, on the other side of the curve are the older folks like us who don't see a huge increase in our wages, but the cost of living goes up. So the younger than us generation is trapped. The older, or our generation, some of us, feel trapped. But there is a segment in the middle of people who are making a lot of money and they're buying all the assets. And that little bit of money that's buying all the assets is what's driving the value of these assets up and making harder and harder for people like us to even afford them. So what do? Well, we just keep doing what we're doing. I know you don't want to hear this, some of you, but I think we're on the right path. And I mentioned last time, there's a pendulum, right? You know what a pendulum is? Goes from one way, stops, comes back. Excuse me, the pendulum is starting to come back. For many years, and I want to say from 2008, coincidentally enough, till now, the pendulum was swinging so far one way that it didn't look like it was ever going to come back. I'm talking about geopolitics, domestic politics, geofinance, domestic finance. Everything is starting to come back to the middle. I don't mean the middle politically. I'm just talking about the arc that a pendulum makes. It has to swing through the middle. I think we're getting closer and closer to that middle. So I have high hopes that after this bloodletting, which we're going through right now, that we're going to start swinging back to the time that you and I knew when we were working, raising a family, buying homes and cars and so forth. So it's going to take time. So encourage your adult children or other people that you know who are just going to throw up their hands and YOLO, and what's the other term that the economists are using right now? Doom spending. Don't let them do it. Stay out of debt the best that they can. Stay out of debt. If they cannot afford it, don't let them buy it, right? Now there's a platform out there that will allow you, check this out, this is sick, that allow you to buy fast food, have it delivered to your house, and pay for it in easy payments. 4 interest-free payments. It's Carlin, there's an app for it, I forget the name of it, but it doesn't matter what the app is. It's designed to suck people in, because now all of a sudden you're buying your Domino's pizza that's, 25 bucks for 4 easy payments of $7, $6, whatever it is. If you can't afford a $25 pizza delivered to your house, dude, don't buy it. So we've got to get out of this mentality, and this is our job, to relate to those who feel like nothing's going to change. They're the ones that are being screwed. The system is against them, yada, yada, yada. Tell them things have a way of reverting back to the way that you remember them and I remember them. It just takes time. And those who will be patient and wait for that pendulum to swing back and resist the temptation to buy pizza on a 4 easy pay installment plan, they're going to do really well. They're young now, again, relatively speaking, to us, but they don't get it. So us older, wiser, gray-haired, good-looking, like you, people have to really sit them down and say, listen, I know your flesh, your eyes, right? It says in Scripture, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, the pride of life is pulling you to do these things that are just not good for you. Do your best to stay away from them, and you will be so happy down the road. Right now, the temptations are too great. These scumbags on Wall Street, these investment banks, all these people that do nothing but sell money, they want these kids. And again, I use kids in an appropriate sense, a term of endearment. They want these kids to buy into the lie. Don't let them do it. Don't let them do it, mom, dad, grandpa, grandma. Because if they do seek your advice at all, hey, you know what to do? I have a great idea. Instead of you trying to tell them that, and they're going, yeah, old person, you don't know what you're talking about, send them to me. Even though this channel is not really designed for younger people, because they think us old people don't know our elbow from second base, send them to somebody they don't know, and I'll tell them the truth. That way it takes you off the hook. But here's the truth, even if this is the only part that they ever watch. Don't get sucked into the lie that things are never going to get better. I said it before, and I stand on it. We live in the greatest country on the earth. This country will rebound. We will do better than we're doing, and we have done. Be patient. Don't listen to all the noise that's trying to tell you that you should do this and you should do that. If everybody's telling you this is the way you should do it, tell them Popsy Guy is a contrarian. As soon as I hear everybody saying you need to do it this way, my ears perk up and I go, whoa, I don't like that. It's kind of like when our parents used to say, your best friend jumps off a bridge, you're going to follow him. Right? It's the same analogy. Don't do what everybody else is doing. Otherwise, you're going to end up just like everybody else. And I'm probably going to do a whole video on yogiisms. If you're familiar with Yogi Berra, the famous Yankee, I think he was a catcher. He's got some great ones. I've actually got it stored on my phone, 30 of Yogi's best statements. One of them is, that place is so popular, nobody goes there anymore. Think about that for a minute. That place is so popular, nobody goes there anymore. And I'll leave you with my second favorite one, because it's becoming a little bit more true and true as we age. Make sure you go to other people's funerals. Otherwise, they're not coming to yours. So anyway, I just wanted to do this short video, give you some hopes, give you some encouragement. The numbers don't lie. Yes, it's a little bit different, but I think the pendulum is swinging back. Don't buy into the lie, you youngins, because if you do, you're going to end up worse off than you would otherwise, and we don't want that, because you are the future. And believe it or not, as I said in my Social Security, we need you to pay those. We need you to work and pay into FICA so we keep getting our checks. Keep the Ponzi scheme going. Anyway, y'all have a great weekend, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.